From a distance, the views around Sarajevo are spectacular. But up close, this ancient city shows its darker side. City parks turned into cemeteries. Bombed-out buildings dot the landscape. Homes still show the bullet-riddled scars of war, and so do the bodies of some who survived.
I was on the front line and a grenade fell 50 meters from me and cut both my legs off.
Val Lichomar joined fellow victims of war to receive mobility, thanks to the Wheelchair Foundation. At this event in Sarajevo last week, U.S. Ambassador Thomas Miller presented Val Lichomar the first of 270 much-needed wheelchairs. How will this change your life, this wheelchair?
It will be helpful because I will no longer have to walk on my stumps. It hurts very much when I walk like that.
20-year-old Mirza Alahadzik was shot by a sniper 6 years ago.
The wheelchair for us is some kind for something like a window to the world, you know. And when you get the wheelchair, you open that window and you can see the world.
And it's not just direct victims of the war receiving wheelchairs. Bay Area entrepreneur and philanthropist Ken Bering, who founded the Wheelchair Foundation with $15 million last summer, helped an elderly man into his first wheelchair. This little girl has muscular dystrophy. Her mother told us until now, her daughter's only mobility was being carried in her arms.
Her mental ability is totally okay. Whenever we are outside and she sees other kids walking, she also wants to walk, but she's not able to.
Also in attendance, NATO commander, U.S. General Joseph Ralston, who will help Bering's cause by making U.S. military aircraft available for wheelchair deliveries in countries under his command.
I think what Mr. Bering has done in the Wheelchair Foundation is absolutely magnificent. You can see the hope, the emotion that was involved with these people as they received a wheelchair, and I think it's just a tremendous effort.
Sarajevo is recovering from the war, but many people are still suffering, especially the disabled. The average monthly income here is less than $300, about the cost of a wheelchair. The family that lives here makes less than $10 a month. This woman told us her husband was killed in the war, leaving her to care for their 10 children. They live on a diet of poverty. The youngest bedridden by a crippling disease. The Wheelchair Foundation delivered a chair to help. And more are still being injured, limbs blown off stepping on one of an estimated 1 million landmines laying in wait throughout Bosnia. Ken Bering's goal is to deliver 1 million wheelchairs over the next 5 years.
What makes you feel good is when you see a person get in a chair and smile and grab your hand and their eyes water. You know, it really means something to them. It gives them a little bit of hope and a little bit of a future.
Well, Brian Banmiller is here in Vallejo with me. What a wonderful story. And that picture of Ken Bering helping the elderly man in the wheelchair and then him hugging.
And that was also real, and we saw that time and time again. What really also was poignant to me was the point where that one young kid said, "It gives me a window to the world." And then the older soldier who had to walk on the stumps until he got the wheelchair. The little lady, the woman who could only carry her lady in her arms. You know, we forget how easy mobility is when we have our legs. And then it's bad enough in America, but when you go to a third world country, when a wheelchair is almost impossible, it's terrific. The other thing we mentioned in that report is General Joseph Ralston is the supreme Allied commander in Europe. He is the #1 American in Europe. He, on that trip, volunteered to take U.S. military aircraft and take wheelchairs Ken gives them, and if there's room on a cargo airplane, to distribute them throughout the countries that NATO's in control of. And that is a tremendous deal.
Were you ready for what you saw when you arrived at Sarajevo?
No, I mean, I've known Ken for some time, and he's talked about it, and he's talked about these trips. We've had him on the morning show before. I've seen videos. But you know, Ross, there is nothing like being there because it's also real. You know, we live almost in news, in not a fake world, but we get so cynical about it. But when you're there and you see the devastation in a country ripped apart by war, bullet holes everywhere. People, you know, there's bullet holes there, but you can also see people walking down the street with the blank gaze that war brought them. And to turn around and see these many people get a wheelchair is absolutely, it's just an incredible experience.
Let me give the phone number of the Wheelchair Foundation. If anybody has any questions or want more information about Ken Bering's organization, it's on your screen now. It's 1-877-378-3839. That's the Wheelchair Foundation. Thank you, Brian.